Every genre has its own specific elements that you have to think of and you have to include in your novel. Today I will talk about the essential elements of mystery novels and how you can use them to create your novel plan. Hi guys! I'm glad we're meeting again. And if you're here for the first time, my name is Sylvia, and on this channel I share some writing, productivity and motivational tips for writers that I've learned throughout my writing journey. I post new videos every week, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and click the little bell that you never miss a new video. Just to be sure that we're on the same page, I want to say that I think of the plan as something different from the outline. While the outline gives you the whole plot, ordered chronologically, chapter by chapter, a plan is something different. I like to think of the plan rather as a list of the essential elements that I have to include in my novel. So it is more like a brainstorming place where I gather the ideas about my novel. And because right now I'm at this stage planning my novel, I wanted to share with you my process and to tell you which elements I include in my plan. So without further ado, let's talk about the essential elements that you may want to include when you plan your novel. Before we continue, I want to tell you that if you are not a plotter, it's not a problem. You can do this plan not in advance, but after you finish your first draft. So you can use it as a quick reference place where you can remind yourself what happened and who said what. I myself have not yet decided whether to plot, whether to outline or not, but there are two things that made me want to make a plan. The first reason is that currently I'm writing a mystery novel, and as you may know, mysteries are very complicated because you have suspects, you have clues, you have red herrings, and you have to keep track of everything. So I thought that having a plan is something that will help me build and write a better novel. The second reason is that I'm a lazy person. So I don't feel like rewriting everything when I find who the murderer is at the end. So having a plan and knowing who will be the murderer and what will be my clues is very helpful and will save me some time from editing. So these are the two main reasons why I decided to do a plan before start writing my novel. I'm not yet sure whether I'll have an outline, maybe I'll have a rough outline, but I definitely want to have a plan. What has to be included in this plan? Every novel has characters, and mystery has characters too. Although people say that mysteries are more plot-driven novels, characters are an important part of mysteries because, as I said, you have suspects, you have a detective, you have a murderer, and it's very important to craft your characters and to know who will be suspects, who will be victims, who will be your murderer, and who will be your detective. So instead of just writing down a list of my characters, I do something else. I write my character names, and after each name, I write the role of this character. In mysteries, there are 5 roles. The first one is your detective, of course. The second one is your culprit or murderer. You have also suspects, you have witnesses, and of course you have victims, or a victim if you have only one murder. Have in mind that for some characters you may have more than one role. You can also add additional information about your characters. So for the murderer, you can write his or her motives, you can write some backstory, but usually on the first page of this list of characters, I write only character names and their roles. Then I have several pages developing those characters, crafting their backstory and describing what are the motives behind their actions. Also, be sure that you spend enough time crafting the two main characters in your mystery novel, and these are your detective and your murderer. The second element that I include in my novel plan is the crime. So mysteries are part of the crime genre, so you must have a crime. And when you're writing a mystery novel, there are certain rules connected with the crime that you have to follow. The first one is that it's good your crime to be a murder. It's not necessary, but it's good to be a murder. The second rule comes and force when you are writing a cozy mystery. So if you're writing a cozy mystery, you have to leave the bloody scenes off the screen. This doesn't mean that you have to start your novel after the murder has taken place. In fact, cozies are the only genre that you may break the rule about the inciting incident and spend the first several thousand words just describing your characters and the setting. The third important rule connected with the crime in your mystery novel is that your murderer has to be capable of doing this crime. So if you have someone shot with a gun, you have to explain how your murderer learned to shoot with a gun. The final rule is that your crime has to be plausible. I mean, your readers must believe that the method your murderer used is capable of causing that. For example, if your murderer chose to kill his or her victim with, let's say, poisonous mushrooms, have in mind that not all mushrooms are so poisonous that to cause death. So in this part of my plan, I like to brainstorm some ideas about the method that my killer will use, how will he or she try to escape from justice, to hide the clues and any evidence that he or she did this. So this part of the plan is really more brainstorming-like. The next important part of your mystery novel plan is the setting. While the setting is important for every novel, in mysteries it has a special role. It's almost like having another character. You can use your setting to hide objects or to create tension, and your setting may even define your subgenre. So you have these locked room mysteries and the small communities which are typical for the cozy mysteries. So you must describe your setting, including the country in which the action takes place, the city or village, the place like a park, a house, a building, and so on. So your setting may be fictional or may be real. If you choose a real town or village, be sure to have a map of this town or village and describe the places that you see on this map. If you choose to use a fictional place, draw a map of this place. So if you have a fictional village, draw a map of this village to know where everything is. But be very cautious, because if you are planning to do a series, then you don't want to include more than it's needed. So when you're drawing your map, include just those places that you're writing about in this novel. The same goes for buildings. If your action takes place in a house, be sure to have a map of this house, a plan of this house, because you will want to know where everything is and where everyone was at the time of the murder. The fourth element of my plan includes the clues and the red herrings. And this is maybe the most difficult part of the plan, which I'm doing right now. Here I include all the clues, the evidence, the red herrings that I will have in my novel. And it's very difficult to know everything in advance, but I'm trying to concentrate on the major clues and red herrings. Of course, as I write, I may come up with some different clues and red herrings, and I'll add them to the plan. But for now, I'm focusing only on the major clues and the major red herrings. Here is also the place where I write about my witnesses, who saw what and who did what. This is the other part of the mystery novel plan, where it's more like a brainstorming place, where you can put all the ideas that you have about the clues and the red herrings, and later when you start writing you can add more or remove some of the clues if you need to. In the last fifth part of my mystery novel plan, I like to include different things such as the theme of my novel, the chief non-fictional element that I will use in the novel, and also the subplot lines and things like that. So this is my way of planning my mystery novel. I hope it's been useful for you in some or other way. And if you want to stay updated about my writing journey, you can always subscribe to my newsletter, and I'll put the link down below in the description box. You can of course follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, and the links will also be down below. I will see you in my next video, and until then, have a great time. Bye!